What is going on, you guys? My name is Rage and we are back today with a War Scourge overview of my best run right now, as you can see, being almost 2.15 million. Now, I want to quickly go through all my Scourges that I recommend in terms of how I got this difficulty, as well as go through each of the nodes in terms of the teams that work for me, the gameplay. You know, I've already made a full gameplay video for my difficulty 6 and difficulty 7. I'm going to link that in my video description below if you guys are interested for the overall strategy. It's been pretty consistent even with the higher tier levels, but more specifically though, I will show for you guys the game nodes 5 and nodes 10 gameplay, just because I think that's going to be what adds the most value, especially in these higher difficulties. I did find that the only one I did have issues with was node 10, possibly due to the fact that I had a lack of preparation, but I'll touch on that more in my gameplay video, guys. But let's get this started. Let's first and foremost go from the bottom up in regards to what best of the Scourges actually helped. So if you guys may have noticed, they actually rated now the Scourge differently compared to the last couple of events that we've had. Now they're rated higher even in difficulty 8 level. That's why, you know, this is actually one of my best run scores I've had, even though I feel like I spent actually much less time doing this. I probably could have pushed higher, but these are the Scourges I felt very safe with, and then tried to push to the best of my abilities. And keep in mind, guys, I didn't invest in any other teams since I started. Whereas before the last two Scourges, when I did do it, some of the teams I had to build up during the event, but in this event, I haven't really actually needed to do anything. I just used the same characters that I've already been building for the last couple of months, and fortunately it worked out. So, you know, even unlocking Red Hulk, I didn't even use him for any of the bio nodes here specifically. I know him and his Gamma team are really essential to get through it for the higher difficulties, but I just continue using Web Warriors. So let's get this party started, guys. So from bottom up, stay down Scourge, a really big one, because actually giving you 30 points, and honestly removing the revive once really impacts only Dormammu or other characters that revive. So this is a no-brainer for sure. Another good one is When It Rains, which is essentially when a positive effects applied to enemy character increase the duration. Honestly speaking, difficulty 8, these enemies still are pretty squishy in my opinion. So even if they get the positive buffs, we're still able to do a boatload of damage. This is one that actually adds a lot of points to the Scourge as well, so that's why I do recommend it. Another one is Vile Resurgence 2 here, applying the minor offense up, just not as significant as a regular offense up, so why the heck not? Also a significant 23 points, that's huge for adding the additional run score here. We have Fire or Flight, when an enemy character does drop below that 40% health, they get additional speed up, right? But again, you'll see in the battles that we have for nodes 5, nodes 10, even though the enemies are higher difficulty level, they're still pretty squishy on this rating scale, so that's why I didn't see it as an issue when they got positive buffs. Another one is Butterfly Effect, where any fortified character that uses an ultimate ability, they do spread positive buffs on that character to allied characters. So I mean, this one is kind of a gamble because we don't really know which characters are fortified, but you find out later on that it is some of the more bulkier characters. But this one is a very sizable 20 points. I didn't feel like it impacted me at all when I was going through it. Likely in nodes 10 we do see a bit of it, but otherwise you know, that's the one to watch out for. You want to increase your overall run score. Weakened is another one. Player character healing is reduced by 20%. There's not a lot of healing that we do with our characters anyway, so that's why I didn't see value lost by adding that one. Unstoppable Force is another good one, where enemy strikers turn, they gain 5% barrier and flip offense down. Again, any of these ISO 8 ones I highly recommend, just because not every enemy that we're up against are carrying these, right? So that's why it's nice. And also 15 points is really big too. I didn't opt to use any of the ones that hinder our abilities, because I still wanted to be pretty smooth still, and especially run the game effectively and efficiently with my characters being utilized. Stage Fright is another one where player character gains taunt, they also gain defense down. Unfortunately, this did work against Hulk quite a bit, but I mean, he's still very tanky even regardless, so I mean, that still worked in my advantage point. And we don't have a lot of characters that we utilize throughout these nodes that actually do have taunt, so that's why I saw the value there. Power Fatigue 1, player character ultimate abilities does cost 1 more ability energy, so this was a little bit unfortunate for me, but I mean, at the end of the day, it still worked out really well. It just took an extra bit of time to actually get that ability. Whenever a player character gains ability energy, apply slow. So this one didn't really feel like it impacted me at all, just because, like I said, we still have the power differential advantage against the enemies. Enemies gaining 5% drain on Power Siphon 1. I didn't really feel that one either. Dark Resolve 3, Ally Death, enemies gain offense up. So for this one, generally you should be hoping that your team doesn't go down. So that's a no-brainer. And then otherwise, I tried to stay away from giving the enemies extra HP, but obviously you can always do that to add to the points. But I found that these Scourges, you know, I barely kind of felt it when I was going through it. They felt really smooth. Anything else extra you can add will likely increase the difficulty, but these are the ones that I feel you can definitely push it, especially if you have the right team and synergies, guys. So that said, let's go ahead and just do a quick deep dive here. You know, run through of all the nodes I did in the attempts. Unfortunately, my progress wasn't tracked here, but I still have the gameplay recordings, but I'll just go through it real quick, guys. Mission 1, the bio nodes, like I said earlier, if you have the Gamma team, they're definitely the go-to, but again, I just want to reuse my value that I've already gained from the last Scourges, which is the Web Warriors. So I use Web Warriors for both missions 1 and missions 2. The only thing I did different from this attempt from my previous 2 videos made was that I did have to use some sacrifice attacks here. So I found that with node 1, especially Nico Minoru, being able to use a couple abilities, I did throw in some straggler guys just to soak those abilities up, and then I brought in my Web Warriors to clean up. Here on node 2 is Shang-Chi, so same thing. I threw a couple guys. Shang-Chi uses his ultimate, waste a couple abilities there, and then my Web Warriors got through it, no problem there. Nodes 3, Nodes 4. So this one's a pretty straightforward experience too. If you saw my earlier videos, Young Avengers is it's such an absolute answer. We need Young Avengers already for unlocking Famine Scourge in Rogue, so it makes sense that the value is already kind of there. Young Avengers did not have an issue whatsoever when I started. Didn't even need a sacrificial attempt. They just went in there and actually just completely rocked it. Same with this one, Mission 4. I've seen some videos where you can use a sacrificial attack perhaps with Bionic Avengers, but I think what I did is I actually did that. I threw in my Bionic Avengers to soak up damage, but they weren't built up as much as my Young Avengers, so then they went in for easy cleanup. And the one thing I did actually forget that you'll see in my recording later is that I forgot to throw in Thor to build up his charges. So you see me starting node 5 actually without charges, but you know, as per my previous videos made, my strategy was actually to bring him in so that way you can actually build up his energy so he can have a stun ready to go as well. But not the end of the world. It didn't work out because I completely forgot when I was going through it, but we still completely dominated nodes 5, so not an issue there. Nodes 5, you'll see in the gameplay later on. The only thing we need to be wary of is Omega Red here. He has some initial attacks, so I did throw in a couple guys to soak up damage, and then I brought in my hybrid mixture of the Heroes Asgards, consisting of Thor, consisting of Lady Thor, and as well as Valkyrie, and then combined with Hulk and T'Challa. T'Challa actually took away one of the abilities from Omega Red as well, but you'll see that in the gameplay afterwards, guys. Villain. Node 6, Node 7 villains, nothing much to say about this. If you guys have Morgan Le Fay, Doctor Doom, Omega Red, everybody else is just complimentary. They completely rocked these 2 nodes. They weren't an issue whatsoever. I feel like Mission 6 and Mission 7 will likely need to be reworked in the future for other Scourges, because the villains just keep getting easier and easier. Even having this combination of Icarus and Cersei, you know, like we weren't scared at all. We had Morgan Le Fay shutting them down completely. So I feel like they're gonna start noticing how powerful the villains nodes are, and they'll likely change in the future, guys. I expect these ones to change for the worse. The Death Scourge. And then lastly, guys, we have nodes 8, nodes 9, skill nodes. Absolutely no issue. If you typically use the Secret Avengers combined with Kestrel and Shang-Chi, I had no issues even in these difficulties with all those Scourges. All one-shot attempts here. I didn't even need any kind of attacks being soaked up or sacrificial. I just brought them in, and then they just did so much damage, especially Shang-Chi. He really thrives off of their positive buffs. So last but not least, guys, I would say this is the only one I actually had to reset, and did take me a couple of tries, because out of all the other nodes, it was just like 1 or 2 tries just to get the RNG right. But with this one, you'll see in my gameplay later on that I really wished I built up Thor more a bit from nodes 5, but as well, my Heroes as Guardians was quite weak. So they were just put in a very vulnerable position. So I did actually have to throw in a couple guys to soak up damage, pretty much clean up the rest of the Ravagers in wave 1 that I didn't use. And then I brought on my team, and then I swapped T'Challa with Yondu, because Yondu actually had the summoning minions there to support and be able to turn reduce. So you'll see that in my gameplay, guys, but that essentially is my full run of the 2.15 million here. So yeah, overall, guys, like I said, I feel like this one's definitely been easier than the last 2 Scourges, but also because I feel like the last 2 Scourge events, we've been building up for this one, right? We had value from Web Warriors in the Pestilence Scourge. We also built up Young Avengers from the Famine Scourge, and both those teams were used in the Scourge. So I think that's why it feels optically better, because I definitely spent less time getting to this run score. And to be quite honest, I don't know if I'm going to push higher, just because I was pretty happy already when I in the last 2 Scourges, when I think my best score was like 1.8 or 1.9, and still got a 5 yellow of Morgan Le Fay and Rogue. So pretty happy with that, guys. So I'll see if I have time this week to push higher, but I think I'm pretty happy where I'm at right now, and hopefully you guys can get some input and advice from watching this. But again, guys, I'll link the videos for difficulty 6 and 7 below if you need some assistance kind of going through it in the lower levels. But otherwise, I'll leave you guys to it. Thank you as always for checking out my videos, and now I'll switch over to the Notes 5 and Notes 10 gameplay with voiceover. Thank you. Now, guys, as I noted earlier, we're going to need a sacrificial attack here to at least waste one of Omega Red's abilities. I have Star-Lord T'Challa to take away the second ability later on, but you'll see I'll start things off here with Hawkeye. Even with these enemies being higher than us, he still has the speed advantage, which is huge. You see Omega Red using his ability on Captain America, and again, these guys are not built up, so no surprise there. They get easily one-shotted, but what matters is the fact that we actually took away one of Omega Red's abilities now, pretty much setting up the stage for us to actually attack with our A team here in Notes 5. So now my team here, like I said before in my earlier videos too, it's gonna be the main 3, you know, the Heroes as Guardians with Mighty Thor, Jane, as well as Valkyrie, followed by T'Challa, and then I have Hulk built up as well, just because he's part of that Gamma team, but he's been such a great tank overall, and using the ISO A healer on him, he actually gets a lot of value, even with the defense down being inflicted on the Scourge. So starting things off, you can see I'm gonna go ahead and try to blind Omega Red. It doesn't work, so you just back out, and you just need to make sure that the blind actually lands. After a couple of resets, I finally got one where, you know, with Star-Lord T'Challa, he was able to actually blind Omega Red from the beginning, and it's huge, guys, because you'll see right away from the beginning, he's gonna be activating his ultimate ability, and by doing so, we're just gonna get protection right away, and nobody gets harmed, right? So first and foremost, though, who I recommend taking down is actually all the damage dealers, and that includes Silver Samurai and Omega Red, just due to their abilities. But you'll see from the very beginning, if you have his team synergy, Thor's gonna get charges already just from all of his allies getting attacked. That's why I kind of wish that I did a better job of actually prepping these guys, because they definitely took more damage, more than I wanted them to, and you'll see that has a lingering impact on us later on in Note 10. So you can see I go ahead, I stun Silver Samurai because I know about his damage output. I just want to make sure he's controlled, right? But because of all of our abilities, you can see how powerful my Thor is. Just, you know, having the ability to actually just knock out enemies every time with their off strike, and as well the charge is getting built up, right? And we're doing pretty good right now, but unfortunately with this node specifically, there is the heal block that goes against us. So that's why if you're able to downplay and make sure that you're taking your time building up energy in this node specifically, I recommend it. But you can see here, I don't really get a chance with the heal blocks, right? And this node does actually end up ending sooner than I expect. So with this next wave now, I do recommend taking down Dazzler, because she can flip our buffs as well as apply defense down. But overall, these guys are just really squishy. Like, we definitely have a stronger team, even though our gear tier 16 guys are matched with them. We just have a lot more stronger abilities. They're not as tough as they look, right? They're definitely squishy. I take down Madeline Pryor. I leave the chance there for Mr. Sinister to try and clone, so that way I recommend leaving him, just so that if he clones, you can build up energy and attack the clone. But again, it doesn't go according to plan here, guys, because you can see right away Thor getting his natural charges and just finishing off already. And preemptively, I think what I should have probably done is just back out, because I didn't like how, just look at Jane, just look at T'Challa, all of them are very low HP, and this was a red flag, right? And by the time you're done, sometimes you can't undo the record right now. So that's the team I have left over, and that's gonna be indicative of my success later on, because it did take me quite a few tries with the RNG in Notes 10. But there you guys have it. That's a wrap with Notes 5. Now let's switch over here. I didn't want to waste you guys' time, but for this one, before I started, I did throw in the rest of my my Ravagers in wave 1 just to soak up as much damage as possible to start off this this node against these guys. So that's why you'll see some of them being damaged a little bit, because I threw my guys in for some auto attacks, but overall you'll see what I mean, guys. So from the very beginning, I do recommend taking down Iron Man first, just because he's gonna have a lot of damage if you don't clear him out of the way, and he has synergies with the Bionic Avengers, right? But you can see from the beginning, Valkyrie goes down already just because of the fact, like I said, she was very weak from nodes 5, so it kind of set the stage here. But thankfully Jane was able to finally survive that attack, which worked out for me because I just needed her to survive the attack, so that way she can use her ultimate, and you can see it just does some really devastating damage against these guys. Now, what creates devastation in this node is the fact that they have so much Bionic Avenger synergy. You know, Hulkbuster is a big problem with Viv Vision, but you can see with our Thor constantly getting his retaliation and attacks, what we need to make sure is that do not use his ultimate in nodes 5. Make sure you save his ultimate here for this node specifically, because we have Yondu actually being able to summon minions. He actually becomes the difference maker here, because those minions actually reduce the turn meter, provides a small little heal to Hulk, but every little bit honestly adds up. And finally, we get a chance here to take down at least a couple of them right out of the way with the Bionic Avenger synergy. And then I would recommend just finishing off whoever's weak. So Deathlock is another one we need to aim for, but I saw that Jubilee was weak. And afterwards, you do want to take down Deathlock's damage, because if he gets going, he can honestly take down a few of our guys in the blink of an eye. So unfortunately with them, they do get the stealth because of the synergy with the Bionic Avengers. So that's why this can be such a dangerous node. You know, they're getting energy back. The fact that they have such strong heavy hitters, AoE damage, you can see. But thankfully, like I said, every time that we get attacked, we're building up charges for Thor, and that's going to be the difference maker here, guys. It took me a few tries. This looks easy on screen, but I did have to reset like 10 times just to get the right RNG, especially with Jane and Valkyrie constantly dying from the initial onslaught. So you can see even right now, you just see how much damage they're doing, right? Like, we're just lucky that the luck actually played out pretty good for us in this attempt. But the learning lesson here, guys, is make sure Thor is ready to go for nodes, and especially since we see how much damage Thor does, and he was really the centerpiece of the reason of why we were able to get through this, and ultimately getting me here to my best run. So there you guys have it. I hope the video was able to help you guys kind of set up and mentally understand what's needed. Again, Thor is going to be the centerpiece for the team to get that done. Especially if you want to push a higher score, guys. It's going to be necessary to have that synergy with the Heroes Asgardians. But again, you don't need the full synergy of all of them. You just need some, you know, key supportive characters. So I hope this helped you guys. Thank you as always, and I'll see you guys in the next one.